Okay, so in this video we're going to be doing the timing belt and motor mount in Max. We got one box here. This should be the motor mount. We're going to open it up right now. Okie dokie. Let's see what we get here. Packing slip, I can't really show much of that. Ooh, new sticker. So yes, this is the motor mount. Coolio. Let's make sure it's the right mount. So what do we got? We got EM2947. EM2947. Alright, cool, that matches up. Check that out. What? Alright, this is weird. Look at this. This ain't no Torx. This isn't a Torx bolt. Upgrade question mark or sketchy question mark? I'm trying to think if I should just put the old one back in at this point. Alright, so this is the motor mount for the... Okay, so this is the passenger vertical motor mount, so it mounts like this in the frame rail. So this half that protrudes out is inside the frame rail, and this is actually the side that the motor bolts into. So your block goes against here, your bolt runs through it, and into your block. Usually they have a T55, or is it 260? I got a T55. This is an Allen head, so there's that. So we got one part. That's cool. I mean, the car has like 160,000 miles on it, and it's never been changed, the timing belt, which is like double overdue. It's supposed to be every 80-ish thousand miles, 80 to 100,000 miles. So, good thing I'm getting to this, because otherwise this could have either broken this mount or my timing belt could have snapped. There's a tension, the idler pulley. That's what's rattling. That doesn't come all the way out. Alright, that's not how I remember that to be, but okay. Warranty sticker, I'll put that on the car. Tensioner, that spins good. And the belt. Cool. Alright, so we're at the car, and if you can see, she's got a lot of ground clearance. I don't have a lift, so this is gonna have to do, but you know, it's fine. So, I removed the bumper to make this a little easier to access, because you're gonna need all access in here. You're gonna want to remove your tire too. So, but yeah, you're gonna want to pretty much. I removed it just to give me some more room. I'm probably gonna have to remove this headlight. There's a belt there. See, there's the timing belt cover. There's 3 bolts right here. You're gonna have to remove your motor mount. You're gonna want to have a jack under the motor when you do that, because you'll be removing all the mounts on the side, and of course, disconnect your battery. Okie dokie. So, that tire off. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna pull this cap off. I might have to get a flathead for that. I just know it. And then I ordered the motor mount too, which you see right there. Then we have to get accessory belt off, alternator belt off. So, but let's get this cap off, and then we'll get those belts off. It's fairly simple to get the belts off. Talk about fallen mount at all. That's gonna be a fun one to get out. Where's my light? Is that mount shot? I doubt it's ever been replaced. This serpentine belt is super easy to get off. Pretty much, you get a wrench on the tensioner. You just pull it back like that. You just slide it off one of the belts, or one of the drives. We are going to have to be moving the power steering pump, so it's okay if it falls off. It's not that bad to get back on. So I'm just gonna get the belt off. I'll be right back. You can just do that, and it's off. It's that simple. Next, what we're gonna want to do is be able to get access to the alternator back there. which includes having to loosen that bolt, and to get this arm out of the way, that's not hard to do. We have to be able to get down there at the alternator. You can probably see it. Yeah, you can see her down there. Right down there, that's the alternator. There's a bolt on top and a bolt behind it, which maybe you can see, maybe you can't. There's a bolt behind the evap, which actually moves it forward and backward. And see, there's a power steering pump belt. When the air conditioning lines aren't in the way, it's very easy to get to. I see it right now, actually. I could just put it right off. And there's your accessory belt for the air conditioning and everything else. Currently just going to remove this bracket, which I believe is a 14 and a, no, it's a 15 on top, a 15 on the bottom, I believe. 15 on top, 15 on the bottom, yep. I'm going to use a deep socket on the bottom one, short one on the top. Yeah. Okie dokie, so there was the washer and the nut. First it was the arm, then the washer, then the nut. So it was basically like this. And the washer and the nut, and then the bolt went through up top. Again, I like to put things back so I don't lose them. So I'll put the washer and the nut back on here. Put the bolt up here. Like 3 threads in it. And then this down here. Now you can see that alternator mount. A lot easier, because that has to get loosened in order to get it. You also see the catalytic converter way back there, maybe, but I believe that's 15 as well. Maybe. Yep, 15. So I'll get an extension on it and a breaker bar. I'll just break that free and I'll go up top. It wasn't terrible to break loose, but you just got to back it out enough. Spin the washer on it, and then you could give it a tap. So essentially what you're doing is you're down here, you loosen this bolt up, and you can give it a tap because there's this backing plate on it, and it can, if you tap it, if you get it out, a decent amount, and you tap it, you can free it up, and it's a lot easier to remove. And you can see the bolt up top here. This is the hard to get one, and then this is the one that adjusts the tension on the belt. So loosen this one, loosen that one a smidge, like the tiniest bit, and then you crank this one out, so like you're going to unscrew it, and that will allow it to go and push the alternator in. Make sure that you're pushing on this, or like if it's not moving, make sure these are both loose. You can tap the alternator, and then you should be able to get that belt off. My good golly, is that bolt hard to get loose. I got it loose. There's like no room. Got it somewhat loose. So now I gotta go behind it. Maybe if I move the evap line, you can see it, maybe. Oop, I can see it from the bottom of the car, so I have to go under the car to get to that line. Which ideally is gonna be like right there. There's the alternator, this is under the car. And the bolt is up there. I don't know if I can actually get a camera angle where you can see it, but it's right about where my finger is, my middle finger. Right up there. 13 mil, you gotta loosen her up a lot. Beware of things falling. It's not fun. Okie dokie. I got it off. So now the belts are off. The crank is separated, and this is a 19 mil that has to get undone, and this has to get pulled off with a pulley puller. These are not fun to remove. Trust me, I've done it before. They're a pain in the ass to get off, and they're a little easier to get back on, but they're a pain in the butt to get off. So pretty much, you get this bolt loose, you back it out like an inch, you put the pulley puller, pull it out. If you have the Mopar one, like the actual Chrysler, they put a rod that goes into the crank. Yeah, I don't have that, so we're just gonna put pulley puller on the bolt, hook around the back, and yank it out. One thing I forgot to say, make sure you're in top dead center before you take your stuff off. I haven't taken it off yet, I just remembered. Just make sure that you're in top dead center, You'll be able to turn the crank once this is off. You just have to put the bolt back in it, which I'll probably do. I'm just removing that coil wire so I remember to put it in top dead center before I get too in depth. So I got her out. She fight a little bit. See the blue Loctite on it. So now that it's out, thread her back in a little bit, and then we'll throw the pulley pillar on top and get her out of here. Y'all might make fun of me, but listen, if it works, if it works, it works. Where'd my 19 go? It got launched. There it is. Oh, it's off. So now there's 4 more diamond cover bolts. One up here, one here, and one way up there. Let's get those out. So each one of these bolts is an 8mm. You can put on a hex head socket, or you can either get a little Phillips head. Okie dokie. So one thing that you're going to have to be able to do is you're going to have to undo the power steering pump and pull it out. It's to pretty much unbolt the whole power steering pump. You don't have to disconnect any lines. You just got to unbolt it enough to be able to move it. I mean, there's a bolt way down there. We're not going to get to that one. We're just going to do, there's 3 down there. So there you can see 2 of the 3. And there's barely one on top you could see. The power steering pump. That's the bracket that they're on. Down there. So I have to take out all 3 of those, and that will loosen the pump up, and I could pull it back a little bit, and then that should allow us to be able to get the other bolt behind it with that plastic timing cover off. Now it is a lot easier if you remove the grill and the upper radiator support, which I'm going to do because I don't see any reason why not. It frees up a good amount of area, and it's 4 bolts on this and 6 bolts on the radiator support. 1 down here. So 3 in the front, 3 on each side, so total of 9. The weather stripping and 4. So for 13 bolts, it makes 100% sense to just spend the time to do this 13 bolts to make your life a lot easier, in my opinion anyway. Once the 4 7mm are out, you can push down on here, push down there, pull forward like this and up. There are 2 little hooks like that underneath, and then there's just regular hooks, and they're reversed, so you gotta push it down, angle it forward, and pull it out. A little weird. And now you'll see here 6 10mm on either side, 3 on either side, 10mm. These are 12s. That's like an 11-ish, I think, something like that. So once removed, there's these 2 13mm on the side of the hood bracket, and then there's 1 12mm underneath that hold this support in. You will have to realign the hood. It's not that hard to do in any means. It's actually fairly simple, but just pretty much keep them loose. Also, just be aware there are washers behind these. Usually, there should be washers behind them, which help make it easier to line up. But pretty much to align this up, you just get these tight enough to where you move it. You eyeball it. Whoops. You eyeball it, and then you just, you know, go by. You close it. You see how it lines up, and then you just tighten them down. And I actually dropped that washer in between the intercooler, and it didn't hit the bottom. So, you know what that means. We're gonna have to go find another washer. But anyway, once it's done, get the radiator support right out. Now you got a lot more access to your power steering pump, because you could also pull the radiators forward another, you know, what, ½ inch. So it gives you a lot more room to get access to those 3 bolts down there. It gives you a lot more access all around. definitely worth the 13 bolts right there. Okie dokie. So, power steering pump has basically been removed. All the bolts are out. There's 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. They are all 13 mils. The only thing that's holding it on right now is a bracket. Slide it all the way back. Pretty nice. It's very greasy. This one leaks. They're known to split and then they leak everywhere. But pretty much it's sandwiched between 2 brackets. Here you can see the 2 brackets down there. The one on that side, the one on that side. Now that's out of the way, it should be easier to get to the other bolts that we were looking for earlier. So I got all but 1 bolt out for that plastic cover because it's a pain to get at. I wish it's actually easier from this angle maybe. You can see it. Way down there. There she is. It's easier to get from this angle. So what I have to do is, what I'm going to do is disconnect these T15s, slide that upper bracket all the way over, and get that out. Yay! So these are 215s. On top, that's, I think it's 17. I'm not going to remove that though. You can remove those 2 and just slide it off to the side. And then I can get down there. Cool. And I also removed this idler tensioner for the serpentine, the accessory belt that has a 15 millimeter on it. And I got the bracket slide off to the side. If you have the regular motor mount, you can't do this. Only if you have the solid motor mounts, you can slide it off. And now we're going to reach down there, get to the bolt that I see. That's right there. I can touch it. It's down there. Anyway, I'm going to grab that. It's another 8 mil. And now that all the bolts are out, ideally, as I'm blinding myself, put the light here again. It's a little nice. Should just be able to. Yay! Here's a timing belt. Not too bad with oil. Could be better. You can definitely see that the front frickin' crank seal's leaking. And look how loose that belt is. Let's take a look. There you can see our tensioner, water pump pulley. So, what we gotta do is now, if y'all can see it, there's a little white mark right there on the crank pulley. That white mark. And then there's a mark up top, maybe. A little arrow. They have to line that white mark with that arrow and have, there's 2 lines. These drive shafts, there's one. I mean the cam gears, there's one here, one down there, one over there. They're the same. It says up. You want them both to be in a line here, and you want those to line up. So we're gonna put the crank bolt, which is in this contraption of mine. Yank it out of here. I'm gonna throw it back in the crank hole. I'm going to put this thing back so I can see what I'm doing. And we're gonna turn this till it lines up, and I'll be right back. So now you can see that white mark lines up with that little arrow right there. And the 2 marks on the timing gears, those 2, that one, and they're parallel across. That means we're set at top dead center, and that means that we can now start pulling the lower motor mount down here. I could loosen the tensioner, remove the center mount, drop the motor down a little bit, and get that belt out. So now all of the mounts are out. Bottom one, center mount, bolts out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get access to that top bolt, and we're going to drop it down, get access to the 2 bottom ones. Fun. Alright y'all, we made some progress. So I removed the whole power steering bracket, as you can see down there, and it was a fight for the death, but I got the mount out. It makes it extremely hard on this car because it's been in an accident, as you can see here. And I actually pushed the frame rail in and bent it slightly inward, so you can't get in here without forcing shit. So it makes it really hard. This is the tension. This is the idler pulley. The tensioner's still down there. I didn't have much time. But this is the idler, and let me just give you a sound demonstration real quick. I'm gonna hold the bolt in place. I'm just gonna spin the bearing. Talk about spun bearing. Listen to the play. I mean, she's mint. Pretty mint. I think she's original. And then look at the belt. So look at the belt. The belt doesn't look terrible initially. You know, you can see she has her spare cracks every once in a while, and how it is a Mopar belt. So if it's ever been changed, it was done by the dealership. See it there? But the dude says he never took it to the dealer we bought it from. So I don't know if this is an original belt. If you see here, if I crimp it, maybe. Let me zoom in real quick. If I crimp it, you'll see it's not good. You know, you can see the slight breaks in it. And then you ready? Look at this. So the inside doesn't look terrible. You can obviously see that it's worn down a good amount, especially right in these spots like this. And then you can do this. You ready? Look at this. That's mint. Honestly, I don't think this belt's ever been done in this whole thing's life. I know the motor mount for sure hasn't. Look at this. Check out this new Bluetooth motor mount. You ready? Yummy. Okay, so it turns out that these motor mounts actually have a bracket under them, like a brace, and they will never actually come all the way out. I guess that's somewhat of a safety thing. But as you can see, it's shot. The only thing that's holding it in is the bracket, because it won't fit through. So, yeah, I don't know, I'll have to figure something out how to get this put back together. It'd be a lot easier. That was a pain in the butt. Okie dokie. So, new day. We're gonna remove this top bracket, which involves a ground strap. It's 10 mil right there, 2 10 mils on this bracket here, and then I think there's a 19 in there. There's 2 19s over here, and that's a 17, if I remember correctly. I was wrong. It's an 18. Okie dokie. Got all these out. These ones in the back are 18s. The one in the front is a 19. Get this bracket out of here. Give me some more room. Cruise control. Stop falling down. Stay. You also don't want to grab that vacuum hose down there, which is clipped into it, so just beware. So, once you get this bracket out, you got a lot more open room. So next, remove the cam gears. So basically, just remove this. Usually, you're going to need an impact on this, unless you can hold the cam gear from spinning, because they will try and basically undo themselves. I mean, it'll just spin the cam, and then tensioner's down there. Gotta get that out, and then we can take the back cover off. They're 18 mils on the cam gears. So basically, once you break it free, it's very easy to get out. You're gonna want to use Loctite when you put these back together, because you don't want them to come out. Blue Loctite's probably plenty. Let's see if there's any on here. Should be a blue Loctite. Maybe not. They're beefy bolts, and you could just pull the cam gears off. Some wiggling. These ones. Oh, what's cool about these motors is that they're non-interference, which means that you can spin the cams even if. So it's not going to hit the cylinder, basically. There's the cam gear. Beautiful. So that's intake. You can see right there. That's the camshaft actually. And there's a bolt underneath it. That bolt is for the cover. So basically what I did is, I drew on either side. I put a socket on it and it held the gear, and then I just broke it free. Not terribly hard. I was actually expecting it to be harder. Cool. I shouldn't say that, I'm gonna jinx it. Now that the cam gears are out, one thing I do want to say is, if your cam gear's like this, and there's no oil residue on it, you're good to go and your cam seals are not worn out. If your cam gear looks like this one, has some oil residue deposits on it, that means that your cam seal is shot. And pretty much so, basically, those are the seals around the cam, and they're not terrible to do. They're actually recommended to do so when you're doing this job, and I didn't order any, so I'm not going to replace it. Also, I don't know how much longer this motor is going to last, so we're just going to leave it. So now we got to get the tensioner out, which I believe is probably easier from the bottom. So we'll drop the motor down, see if we can get at it from there. If not, you know, it's actually pretty accessible from up here. It's probably what, a size 13, I assume. Yeah, so it's a size 13 on the tensioner, and yeah. If you're lucky, you can just break it free and back it out. And this one's having a little issues, but it's coming. There we go. Come on. Come on. How far that bolt is. We're out of finger room. There we go. So, that's the tensioner, that's the bolt. I'll listen to that in a second. That's because, ooh, I swear I just saw purple. And she got toasty. Alright. Good to know. She'll be chilling down there. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to grab, I think it's an 8mm. Yeah, so we're going to grab an 8mm and remove the 4 timing cover, or inner timing cover bolts. There's one down there near the water pump, there's one right here next to where the tensioner was, and there's 2 under the cams. Forgot about the last 2 bolts in the cover. There's 2 13mm, one up there, one down here. Well, and they connect to the oil pump, so just be aware of that. You might leak some oil. Okie dokie. So, there we go. Easy peasy. See that little oil leak above it? Ooh, something. I don't know what. Now, you see the cylinder head, and that's really clean actually, and there's the block down there. So we have to remove that one more bolt right around there, as you can probably see it. That one connected to the bracket for the tensioner, because I bought the whole thing. So, I think that's a 15, I think. Some plastic pieces down here. Where's that from? Alright. Yeah, it's not a terrible leak, actually. Until you can see it. It's definitely wet there. I said a little bit wet, not really, not too bad. Not enough for me to replace it. So, let's get that out. While discussing things, so there's that bolt that I was pointing to earlier on the bracket. There's a lot of spider stuff in here. Ugh. Like dust and disgusting stuff. Alright, so let's get this motor mount out, which I believe should be 13s all around. There's 4 of them. Yep. So there's 4 13s on that motor mount. Let's get that out of there. I don't know if this is good to see. Down there, this was laying on the water pump. Oh, where'd it go? Anyway, this gasket was laying on the water pump. And if you know what this gasket looks like, it looks like the intake manifold gaskets on the lower manifold goes from that bolt to that flange. You can see it's used, so I'm hoping that was an old gasket, not a new one. Alright. Oh yeah, she's definitely old. Crusty, dusty. Just like paper chip. I shouldn't have done that. Oh no. A socket died. No. These are very long bolts. I saw some parts fall when I heard the first click. I think my socket exploded because it's making cracking sound. I don't know. She's very wiggly. Yes, that's the whole thing moving. Maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. Anyway, yeah, the whole thing's moving. Okay. Please don't say I killed my socket or stripped the bolt. She's dying. She's dying. My socket doesn't ratchet anymore. It just makes snapping sounds. Oh, a little socket. Oh, we got back. No, we're not. Oh, we're back. Oh. Oh. Come on, socket. These last 6 years, I believe in you. Husky tools. Well, that's a good amount of time. I think 6 years is pretty good. This is a Husky, shit. I bought a kit back in 2016, I think. So, I think it was like $30 for the kit. And it's turned into that big bag. And we finally got this out, but I think my socket... Oh. My socket is near its last clicky clicks. She don't sound too good. Look how much metal's in that thing. She's toasty. Great. Anyway, now that the bolt is hand tight, you can undo it. You yank it out and do this. Get out of here, you cheeky bastard. Let's see how bad this is real quick. Ugh. Yeah, she's seen a couple good hits with something. Oh yeah. So anyway, that's not what it's supposed to look like. That's an original Mopar mount. Yeah, it says timing belt's never been done. Holy lordy. That's nice to see. I don't think she's doing too much. Well, that's not good. I was tightening the bolt. I didn't even tighten it like that much. Like, I was nowhere close to being as tight as the other ones. Well, we're not getting that out. It'll be fine. We don't need that. Just make sure the other ones don't break off. Because I'm not pulling a motor to drill that out, that's for sure. They're actually snugged up enough to say that they're snug and they're not going to back out. But that's good. That's good to know. So let's put that tensioner bracket back in place. Start putting it back together. Very easy bracket. Again, a 15 in, and now we can put the timing cover back on. I'm just going to clean it a little bit because I don't want it to get grease in the new belt. Okie dokie. So we got all the bolts back in for the cover. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put the timing gears back on. And I'll tighten them the same way. I'll put the socket in, the bolt down here, and I'll tighten them up to spec. Cool. Tell you what, it's definitely easier to get that on there without this gear in the way. But I had the gear on. I torqued it to 85 foot-pounds, which they're supposed to get torqued to, and yeah, so these are torqued to 85 foot-pounds. Each of the cam gear bolts. Tensioners in, not torqued obviously because you gotta wait till you put the belt in and all that stuff. Now we can put the idler in, so we'll get this in and Then we can hopefully set the timing back, throw a belt on, and we're good to go. Okie dokie, so idler's torqued to 45 foot-pounds, and the tensioner gets torqued to 16 once it is fully, put together and ready. So, yeah. Okie dokie, so everything's in, ready for the belt. You set the crankshaft at TDC with this oil pump, which it would be that little white dot and the arrow to line up. I actually have a socket down there so I can also see. If I'm at TDC, you set the exhaust cam slightly lower than the intake, and you pretty much just go from this and you take the belt, you put it on the crank, and you work your way back up to the water pump side, intake, exhaust, and back down. I figured some people might like this to watch it. I'm just cutting these ears off because it is annoying the shit out of me. So. I figure that might be a little easier than having to try and get those stupid earmuffs over that thing, so I just was like, alright, screw it, because every time it hits it, it takes a chunk out of my harness, which is annoying. I'm going to cut off some more. Someone dropped an 8-ball upstairs. And cut off this little section around it a little bit, so it's going to be a little easier to get in there. So yeah. that's enough. Guess what? All that cutting made it very easy to slide that in there. Like surprisingly easy. I did take that out accidentally. Like when I put the thing in, I just plugged it off the ground, stuck it right back in. Now, yes, it does not have the little ears on the bottom. So, make sure you guys line it up right. I'm gonna take this pump off. I gotta put the bracket for the pump back on, which is in the trunk. And then I gotta maybe replace this reservoir because I actually snapped it, sadly. I don't know if, it depends if it wants to leak. If it leaks, then I have to replace it, obviously. If it's a slow leak, it already had a slow leak, so, you know, you could literally see it. She's... Okie dokie. So, got the mount in. It's all torqued up. Power steering pumps back in. Its plates in. Next, what we're probably gonna do is put the center motor mount bolt in. So lower the motor down, and we're gonna just put the bolt in. I'm gonna put the old bolt back in because the new bolt, the threads are all different. It's weird, so I'm not gonna put that new one in. Put the old one back in because that new one is not good. So yeah, this is all put together in here. We got the upper motor mount in, the upper motor mount bracket. Probably clean this. This is disgusting. A lot of those at work is now back to down here, but we're gonna get that bolt in first. So yeah, let's go do that. Okie dokie, so we got the bracket in. This is bolted in. That bracket's in, so now we're gonna shift our ways down. Got the crank bolt out. We're gonna put the lower timing cover on. So we got all the belt drive on, timings together. We don't have the top motor mount in because I wanted to check those marks. I didn't put this together. I just put it together enough to see if it runs. All the hoses, throttle body, connectors, all that stuff's hooked up. The windows decide not to go down if the battery's low, which I assume it's gonna die, so I might need to jump. Let's test first. Let's find out. Let's see. Will it start? Please start. Wow. Got oil pressure. Look at her go. Still got the classic rattle. Hopefully once it warms up a little bit, the idle will die down. I started right up. A little smoky. Not terrible. Again, it hasn't ran in a while too, so. Probably tighten that alternator belt a little more. Looking at how it's jumping. So I'll tighten that up. Yeah. Cool. Okie dokie. So we got the motor mount in. We got everything put back together. It runs, and everything besides, you know, me lining up to line up the hood is pretty much ready to go. And she's back together for now. You know, I did a little running test here, put it in gear, put it in out of gear. Not that that would do anything because I didn't mess with the transmission, as you can see. It's definitely running. There's condensation in the lines. Cool. Just like that is how to do a janky version of a timing belt job at your house. And it's definitely a lot harder than you might expect. I wasn't intending to do a lot of the stuff that I did, but the car runs, the car drives. That's what matters. I don't rip on vehicles, usually. When that car blew up, I didn't rip on it at all. But if you guys want me to, I'll do a video on how I did these fog lights, the bumper delete. If you want me to do videos on the Camaro, again, just say in the comments. I'll do videos on the Camaro. I'll give a tour around, you know, whatever. But Ruby will be getting sent away soon. Her motor is all ready to go on a dolly. I look dirty as hell, but like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.